Tokenizing everything. NFTs for businesses.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Gordon, for buying us some time. Today, we'll be speaking about tokenizing everything and NFTs for businesses. What it means, how it works, what are the real-life use cases, and if we, in generally, need NFTs in a way. I'm going to be the skeptic today, and we're going to hear Rahim and Amrita speak about what value do NFTs bring to businesses. So I think I'll ask you to introduce yourself, what you do, why you do it, how you do it. Yeah, please.
Perfect. Awesome. Hey, everyone. My name is Rahim Metab. I am essentially like an angel investor in the space across DeFi protocols, NFT companies, and NFTs themselves, stablecoin companies, protocols. I'm also the founder for Art.DAO, which is like an NFT-based community based out of Dubai, dating back from like 2021. Fundamentally believe that we are in like the next evolution of the internet and the value non-fungible tokens bring. So I'm excited to talk about that today.
Amazing. There she is. Please welcome Amrita Sethi.
Welcome. Woo! This was by design. She just wanted to make a grand entrance.
Epic entrance.
What an entrance. That dress itself is an NFT.
Thank you, and so sorry I'm a little bit late.
It's fine. We're introducing ourselves. Rahim already did it. Please go ahead. Who you are, what you do, and why are you in the NFT space?
Hi, everyone. My name's Amita Sethi, and I'm the first NFT artist as well as a physical and digital artist. I used to be a banker. I changed my life. I became an artist. And my art is actually all based on sound, so it's dynamic in nature. Then being able to digitize that, then actually going into NFTs actually became something that happened very naturally. When I first found out about NFTs, I thought it was a little bit of a joke, to be honest. But I thought, let me just ride the wave, and this was back in 2019. And then from there, it's really kind of taken, it really skyrocketed, obviously, in 2021 and 2020. But now I think NFTs have taken a whole different, channel and flow with everything in new tech. And I'm excited about this discussion today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And my name's Hayk. I've been leading operations for the world's first digital NFT spaces for the last 2.5 years. Before that, I founded a local community educating people on Web3, NFTs, and blockchain. But today I'm here to pick your brains and try to be the skeptic as of why do we need NFTs in the first place. Before that, I'd really love to know who we have in the audience, and the question I'd ask you now is, who here owns an NFT? Just raise your hand if you have any. Okay, soccer, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, in that case, who thinks 4? Yeah. That's a lot.
It's time to convert some people today.
Okay, Rahim will try to convert you, and I'll ask the second question. Who thinks that NFTs are dead? 1, 2, okay, only 2. 3, 2. Okay, so, are they dead, Rahim? What do you think?
So, when we're talking about if NFTs are dead, I think it's important for us to like zoom out a bit and understand like what we saw as NFTs and what are they capable of, right? So when we are talking about NFTs in the past, they came in like 2 forms, which was art and collectibles. Massive use case in the world. Things like, people have been collecting art for a very long time. People have been buying into collectibles. In fact, it's interesting because one of the biggest metrics that we saw back in 2021 when NFTs were blowing up, a lot of like trading cards have started like rising in value. This is from like baseball cards, basketball cards, and Pokemon cards. Funnily enough, we are seeing that rise again. Of course, correlation does not mean causation, so I'm not necessarily saying that leads to the NFT side of it. So this is what we've explored. We've explored art and collectability. But at the core of the technology, what is it exactly talking about? It's talking about something that's transparently there in a decentralized network that everyone can validate and can see that this is something that exists and stuff. So like, what does that mean? Like the use case of being like, okay, what are the things in the world that we need, that we would love to have transparency on in order for either B2B ecosystems to work in a lot more non-exploitive way, or B2C ecosystems work. And I think a good example in that direction would be, let's take IBM Food Trust. So IBM Food Trust is essentially their arm that makes sure that you have all ethical practices when it comes to sourcing these materials, whether they are like halal certified or not, completely based on the blockchain. Carrefour in Dubai, which is Majid Al Futtaim owned company and stuff, they actually are part of the IBM food ecosystem. So IBM Food, of course, IBM is known for their big data ecosystems all around the world. IBM Food is used by Walmart, Carrefour, a lot of like these big retailers around the world and stuff. They're kind of using it in a way to like track the ethical practices or like the source of like a lot of these things. This is something I fundamentally believe that we are going to move forward towards. We are seeing this in like micro cases. You obviously have the Mantle blockchain, which is very much focused on real estate and RWA. They have a massive collaboration with the DMAC properties in Dubai, where they're tokenizing like real estate. Yeah, and like, you know, recently I invested in this ecosystem that's launching called Mega ETH, which is just like a very faster upscaled version of ETH. They did their investment round completely decentralized, so they have like no VCs, and the way they did it with like was soulbound tokens, slightly different than NFTs, but the idea is, again, like you have something, you have like a non-fungible aspect of this data that you are storing that's connected to you, to your wallet identity, and we are just like trying of different use cases that we can come with them.
Okay, nice, thank you. And what about you, Amrita? What's your creative take on this?
Yeah, absolutely. So for me, NFTs are a medium of art, for example. As an artist, so you will have a physical painting, an NFT, a mural, a sculpture, whether it's an oil painting. So for me, it's another point of, a medium which collectors can collect. And obviously, so I don't think that's going to go away anytime soon. You've always got collectors who understand what NFTs are, techies who are ahead of their time, who understand what, like, for example, Rahim, who understand the value of collecting NFTs, especially from certain artists, what they represent. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that we're just a bit too early, right? I mean, sometimes I don't come from a tech background. As I said, I used to be a banker, then I became an artist, and then I've actually become almost like a tech entrepreneur now. And it just literally blows my mind, the diversity, I would say, in people's knowledge of understanding of tech today. I can sit down with some of my CTO friends in, the Web3 space, and what they can do is just so mind-blowing. And there's some people in Web2 who still don't know how to use a Google Sheet, right? And so there's a just disparity of technical knowledge. And I think that, NFTs may seem like they're dead now, but I just think it's a matter of a lack of user adoption. And I want to ask a question to the audience. Like, back in 2019, who actually knew how to scan a QR code? And be honest, I was actually putting how to scan a QR code videos on my Instagram in 2019.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. Who actually knew? In fact, I know so many people who know how to scan a QR code because I taught them how to do it, because I put a QR code in my artwork. How many people were using Zoom? How many people were using a lot of its tech? And, whatever you say about COVID, it actually led to the biggest adoption of tech that was sitting there for ages. And I bet you somewhere on some stage, in some conference, the CEO of Zoom was being asked, is Zoom dead? You know what I mean? And so I do think that once people start to understand this concept of digital ownership, having a wallet, putting something in the wallet, and literally understanding that you own that, and that feeling of digital ownership only comes when you actually download a wallet and put something in it. So for those of you who have actually created a wallet, bought an NFT, or whether you've been given an NFT, just the act of doing it makes you understand the difference of, oh, that's just a JPEG on the internet versus, okay, but it's something that I own, and if I own it, then if I do have a seller, I can sell it. But it's the same thing. It's like any, I'm an economist, actually. It's just supply and demand. If there's no demand, then there's no one to buy your supply. But over time, the more people understand and value it, that's what will then start to create a little bit of trade again. And understand that, NFTs aren't just, stocks that you can, unregulated stocks. There's going to be so many more use cases for NFTs, as Rahim just said, that it's not just about buying art or collecting art. Actually, the real case is in businesses, loyalty programs, memberships, restaurants. I mean, it's endless.
It is indeed. And that's a very interesting point you made about we're still early in terms of adoption, because the tech is there, you literally can use it. But in my mind and in my experience, people generally do not understand the value of something digital. They don't really value it, and they don't have the ownership over it, because they don't understand that, if it's in their wallet, for example, they can own it in a way. That understanding comes after you've spent some time in the field. And in my opinion, it's easier to explain that to gamers, because they are literally the main audience that owned something in the digital world during the last decades, right?
Yeah, I would actually jump in on that. The other people who understand it are kids between the ages of 6 and 12. 6 to 12-year-olds completely understand. Okay. Anyone past 13 doesn't get it. So I just think that in about 5-6 years' time, when these kids grow up, that's when the boom will be there, because they completely understand. So when I go and see all my friends and their kids, they all think I'm a rock star, because they're the only ones who know what I'm talking about.
Okay. That's a nice take. And we spoke about the challenges, right? The challenge is adoption, and it's transparent, it's decentralized, it's not controlled by a single entity. But in the same time, on the last panel, we spoke about that's really not of value for users. They're more interested in other types of stimulus. So taking that into account, can you bring me some examples of real life value from businesses that utilize the NFTs, please?
That's a great question. So let's zoom out and understand. Just going back to the thing that you mentioned, right? I think people don't value something like that unless they're on the other side of it and they've struggled the issue with centralization. So everyone's happy with centralization. The moment it starts working against them, then you're like, this does not make sense. But let's take a more generalized example. This maybe doesn't have to do with crypto, but I think just from a ownership point of view, it's a great thing to look at. So of course, I'm assuming a lot of people in the audience obviously know who Mr. Beast is as well. Mr. Beast often talks about, so you take the traditional form of media. So you had cinema, you had movies in cinema. Then we had Netflix and stuff. And then you have this new age of content creation, which is YouTube and Twitch. One of the reasons you have so many people who are focused on creating content on YouTube and Twitch, that of course they're still centralized company, but there's some aspect of ownership of what they are allowed to make, with obviously in the realms of not breaking the law and stuff, but in terms of how they want to be creatively expressing themselves and being rewarded for the way they want to be and stuff. And a great example is recently, when Squid Games came out on Netflix, Mr. Beast ended up doing a whole video of it, a 40-minute episode of him reenacting the show in his own style and stuff. The amount of views that particular video had was more than the total amount of subscribers that Netflix has and stuff. So put that into scale.
Wow.
Again, it's a very, obviously we're not talking about decentralization, but what I'm alluding to is you see in different pockets of the world that we are stepping into this idea that, wait a second, maybe a couple of people shouldn't get to decide how we creatively express ourselves, or how political systems work, or how like governing bodies and like companies work. So you're already seeing that form of like mentality seep into people. And I think that's what, like, crypto is obviously like a very extreme version of it, but we are kind of moving that in a very logical direction. And I believe that's a very good place for us to understand the value of giving power back to the people. That's how I, at least like I like to explain. I don't like to use the word decentralization with non-crypto people. I like to use the terminology of bringing power to the people. That if you are a creator, if you are building something, if you're like a gamer or whatever, would you not want to be a lot more accountable and have ownership to your legacy? And this is something that makes instant sense to people and stuff. Again, crypto is obviously like a very, crypto and NFTs is like a very zoomed out perspective on that, but the thesis is not very different.
Ownership of legacy. That reminded me of the panel that we had here about the fan tokens, where fans in different football teams had the chance to to vote for certain decisions. So that's an interesting take. Amrita, what do you think? What businesses do you see utilizing NFTs that bring real value to the users and not make it a nightmare to onboard?
Yeah, so I think that, the question is, are NFTs dead, moving into the challenges? Is I think, NFTs being seen as this kind of way for us to, people just, pump and dump and make lots of money, that's definitely dead. What's still very much alive with NFTs is the technology, right? So the fundamental technology of how it's built on the blockchain, the ability to actually organize data, be able to kind of manage your clients and send out, whether it's airdrops or, rewards or utility to your customers in a very easy way. That fundamental technology is fabulous. The thing that is in transition is adoption. And I think that it is just too confusing for a normal Web 2 person to think about downloading a wallet, or putting the money into crypto. So I think at the beginning, what you're going to have to do is you're going to compromise a bit of your custody or security or ownership of your digital asset for convenience. So I think where NFTs or the technology is going to win is that if businesses first have something that allow people to go in, username and password like they normally do. So imagine you're part of a membership club, and you have gold, silver, and bronze. You sign up, you go in as your username and password, and you see inside, your different rewards, of which behind is being organized by the NFT and blockchain. And so the person who owns that company, say it's, for example, it's Emirates, they can drop in things into your wallet very easily, and you can just go into your, your username, and as actually you can see everything that you have. Eventually, when people start to understand that it's better for them to own that in their own wallet rather than keeping it on, say, the Emirates platform, that's when people will start to take that additional step to learn the tech. But people have to understand the value to them. What problem is it solving? How can I utilize it better? And what better things can I get from companies? And if companies use it properly, they can engage with their audience in totally different ways. And so I personally think that's really how businesses will adopt. It's going to be a step-by-step process. And then when that 13-year-old turns 18, we won't even need to bother. They'll be like, just give me it in my own wallet, please.
The important part here is that businesses really need to solve a problem utilizing this tech, right? And I've been hearing different opinions on Web3 is solving problems that are not existent. There are opinions like that as well. Yeah. And so that's the question, do people really understand that this is a problem right now? Because with AI, with how it's developing, we'll soon get to the point, and we'll be speaking about it on these panels, that we need blockchain to verify the data generated by AI. The decisions it made, the reasoning it had, and the facts it provided us with. But the question here is, how do businesses really create that value right now? can they do that? Do people really value what businesses create through this technology? And is it really something they could have been doing without the NFT? Like, isn't the NFT just a hard onboarding to the thing? Because if we're talking about like fan tokens, for example, or stuff like that, that's relatively easy because if you have onboarding in fiat, I mean, it makes things easier. They don't really value the token itself, but they value the opportunity the token provides. So
fast answers.
Oh, yeah, sorry. 5, 4, 3. Any last words?
Any last thing?
I mean, just before leaving, what I would like fundamentally say is that if you inherently believe, whether you're into NFTs or not, if you inherently believe that we as a society are moving into a world where we are living digitally, like, you know, a lot of us attended like weddings and birthdays during like the COVID era. We went from like going to universities in person to getting diplomas online from like Harvard and all these like Ivy League colleges online. Like, if you fundamentally believe that the next generation is going to live in the digital world, you have to take a moment to pause and ask yourself, how would we tackle ownership in this digital world where like we are living in this like virtual realities, we're sitting at our homes, cross-chain transactions, cross-border like you know, exchange of like values and assets and interests, and where would that come from? And is in that question, is ownership a big aspect of provenance?
And on that note, big round of applause for our fantastic panel. Big round of applause for our fantastic panel. Let's do a group photo. Run! Okay. There you go. You're doing great.